Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Tapan Dubey. This video is for easiest way to learn design pattern using C Sharp. And in this video, we are going to discuss about most common and very popular design pattern that's called Singleton Design Patterns. And in the most of the interviewer, in the most of the interviewers ask about the design patterns, and 90% of candidates says that they know Singleton design patterns. So it's very popular and very easy to learn. So let's start. So before we jump for Singleton design patterns, let me share a few things about design patterns. So there are three types of design patterns: creational design patterns, structural design patterns, and behavior design patterns. So if you talk about creational design patterns, so the idea behind this pattern is abstract the object instantiation process. This pattern deal with the object creations. So what are the patterns comes under creation design patterns? Let me list out that. Factory method, abstract factory, builder, prototype, and singleton. So today we are going to discuss about singleton design pattern. This is a part of creational design patterns. Okay, so now let's talk about structural design patterns. So these patterns mostly define the relation between the classes and objects. And what are the patterns come under the structural design patterns? Let me list that. So number one is adapter, bridge, composite, decorator, facade, flyweight, and proxy. So these are the patterns comes under the structural design patterns. And let me talk about behavioral design patterns. So behavioral design patterns, it says like define a way to communicate between the object. So what are the design patterns come under the behavioral design patterns? Let me list out that. So number one is chain of responsibility. Number two is command. Number three is interpreter. Number four is iterator. Number five is mediator. Number six is memento. Number seven is observer. Number is eight is state. Number nine is strategy. Number 10 is visitor. And the last one is template method. So with this total 23 design patterns we are having, that's called a gang of four design pattern also. So now let's start for singleton design patterns. So what singleton design patterns pattern tell us, the implementation of singleton design pattern tell that class should have only one instance. So we cannot create multiple instance of the class, and then that instance should be accessible globally. So let's see this in action, and let me open my Visual Studio and I will show you how we can make a class, how we can create a class the way that will not have multiple instance, that will not have duplicate instance, and that instance is accessible globally. So let me start my Visual Studio. So I opened one Visual Studio instance and I'm going to create one console application. So let me click on create new project. And here I can see console app, so let me select this and let me give name as a singleton demo, and let's create next, and we are going to use .NET 6, and let's create this. So now one question comes in my mind, like what are the use case for a singleton class? Where can we use the singleton class in the real-time scenario? So one example I can think, like if you are creating a logger, so then you don't need multiple instance, right? You will need only one instance and you will log across your application. So in that scenario, you can use singleton class, or maybe you can use for caching, or maybe if you are dealing with some hardware object, that time maybe you can use singleton class. So let me create one class. Let's call it as a logger class, and this will be our singleton class. So let me give name as a logger and click on it. So now my class is ready. Now let me change this access specifier from internal to public for now, and let me check if I can create an instance of this class or not. So in my client here, what I'm going to do is logger, and let me add namespace for that. So that is singleton demo equals to new logger, and let me create one more instance, and let me give name is a logger 2. So here we can see that as I created this logger class, and I can create an instance of this logger class. But the principle of singleton is says that we cannot create a multiple instance of the class. But here I can see that I have two instances of this logger class, logger and logger2. So now first thing is, how can I prevent this instance creation? So to prevent this instance creation, if I will have private constructor of this logger, so can I create a instance of this class explicitly? No. Yes. Okay. So let me create one private constructor, and by this private constructor we cannot create instance. Okay. So now if I will go back to my um, code, so I can see that now I am getting error because my constructor is private, so I'm getting error like is inaccessible due to the protection level. So let me comment this two line for now. So now you're thinking like I made my class as a constructor as a private, so I cannot create an instance of the class, and without creation of the instance, what is the use of that class, right? So if you have used static classes, so in the static class we don't need to create a instance like a new logger classes, right? We can use that instance static class properties or method directly with the class name like logger dot. If we have some suppose we have a test method, so I can use like test. So this test method should be a static method, right? So to create an instance we need a static method or a static property. Okay, so let me add one static property here. So to create a static property we need a static keyword, right? And this should be public. Okay, so public static, and what is the type of that? It should return the instance of logger, so type of this should be logger, right? And let me give name as an instance, and let me add one get here, and this get will return for now let's add new logger. Oh, so again I added a new logger. So each time I will access this property. So will I get a same instance or new instance? Yes, correct. I will get each time I will get a new instance. But the principle of singleton says that we should have only one instance. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one private uh, field here, and let's say logger, and let me give name as an instance, and this should also be a static, and so here we are working on the initialization for the singleton, and this initialization can happen with the two types. One is early initialization, and second is a lazy way. So first I will share like how you can do early initialization. So in the early initialization, we will create an instance at the time of class loading. So I can directly add a new logger here, and here instead of creating a new logger each time and creating a new instance, here I will share instance. So by this we are getting the same instance each time whenever we are accessing this property. And how can I prove this? Let me create one more property. Okay, and let's change this to new new logger. Okay, and here let me comment this for now, and here let's uncomment this. And how we are going to create instance with the static property. So what is our static property name? It's an instance. So let me assign instance on the first object and on the instance 2 as well. And now let's check if logger equals to logger 2. So this is our singleton principle, right? It should have only one instance. So it should be equal, right? If it is equal, then what I'm going to write is same instance, and if it is not equal, then I am going to write it as a different instance. So as we have commented this code and we are returning a new logger, so I should get different instance message in the console. So let me verify this. So I can see that different instance message, right? Now let me come back and let me comment this code. Control K, Control C, and let me uncomment this code. Control K, Control U, and now let's run again, and I should get same instance message. So let me try this. So I am getting the same instance message. So with the early initialization, we are able to create instance, but the problem is that if we are not using, then also we are creating a new instance. So this is not a good, right? So the second way we can go for lazy initialization. Okay, so that way I don't need this new logger. So let me add null here, and here what I want is I will check for instance if my instance, sorry, it should be underscore instance equals to null, then I'm going to create a new logger. So if it is null, then only I'm going to create a new instance, otherwise I am returning the same instance. So now let me quickly run this again, and I should get same instance message again. So I am getting a same instance message now again. So now the next question comes, yeah, this code is thread safe. So no, this is not thread safe. So how can you make this thread safe? So there are two ways I'm going to share you. First is I'm going to use lock mechanism here. So what I'm going to create is one private static object instance lock equals to new object, and here I'm going to use lock. So now I can safely say that my code is thread safe. So let me run this again, and I'm getting the same instance message again. And as I told that instead of this, maybe we can have some other way also. So let me copy and comment this code, and let me paste it here. And the other way is like we don't need this lock here. So let me remove this, and instead of this lock, we are going to use lazy T. So it was introduced in .NET 4, and by that also we can make sure that our object is thread safe. So let me create one static lazy of logger instance, and it should be new. And instead of instance, I will say maybe lazy logger, and this will be a new lazy logger. And under the constructor, I can use this lambda expression to create a new logger instance. So it should be new. And now, instead of all this checking and all, what I will do is I will directly return lazy logger dot value. And now save all this and check if I'm getting a same instance message or not. So yes, with this way also I'm getting a same instance message. So before we end, a quick summary. So today we discuss about design patterns. We discuss about three types of design patterns, and today then we will discuss about the singleton design patterns. And we saw the way how we can create the singleton design patterns, and how we can implement that thread safety. Also, we saw that implementation part, like we have two ways to implement the singleton design patterns. Like we can implement with the early initialization, and we can implement with the lazy initializations. So that's all for this video. Uh, Thank you for watching. And if you're looking for the source code for this code, I would suggest you to give me your email ID in the comment box, and I will share that source code with you. And I'm going to post few more videos for the other design patterns. So that's all. Thank you for watching.